So what went wrong between you and Suge Knight? Because you left Death Row in 1995, right?
So what basically went wrong with us is there were so many hit records, and Suge had started focusing mainly on the power versus the music that was being released. So we were basically doing one record at a time sort of thing, instead of him being able to function fully as a record label and released rap, R&B, hip hop, country, gospel, like normal record labels do. So I went and got married, and after everything that had happened and being on the NWA album, which he was, sort of like the bodyguard, but he wasn't responsible for a lot of the payout, Jerry Heller. Then going from that to the 187, the soundtrack for Deep Cover, then to the Chronic album, then the Snoop Dogg album, Doggy Style, and then to the soundtrack Murder Was the Case, and then to releasing various singles. From there, the Above the Rim soundtrack, and never getting my just due or none of my publishing, I left Death Row and went and got married. And I wasn't coming back, honestly. I had had enough. And the gentleman, that I married at that particular time was one of the few healthy relationships I've ever had. So, getting back to what was going on at that time, Suge called me on the phone. I was in Richmond, Virginia. Just got married in Vegas at the Treasure Island Hotel, 1995 in December. He said, "Relative, you ready to do your album?" And I was like, "You bullshitting. You ain't gonna put my album out. All these albums out. I done got all this recognition. No publishing to show for it. All the way up until now." I said, "You ain't finna put out my album." He said, "Yes, I am. Jewell, relative, I'm gonna put out your album. Come on back home." Right now, I was living a good life. The wood grain that was in the cars? Shoot, my husband Will had me with the wood grain, with the new seats. I had my name engraved that said Peyton in it. Sure couldn't tell me that. I ain't come back Death Row. Relative, I'm gonna put out your album. I promise. And I believed him, Art. I believed him. So I told my husband, I said, "Suge just called me." He said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, he called me. He said, come back." He was like, "Well, baby, you gotta go back." I said, "Nah, I think he's setting me up for failure again. He lying. I ain't never got paid for none of my music. Never seen a royalty check." Now, I was getting a monthly salary from Death Row. That was $2,500. So back in 1992, 1993, $2,500 a month was a lot of money. So, Above the Rim soundtrack, he paid me $50,000. Murder Was the Case soundtrack, he paid me $50,000. But I didn't get no more royalties. And I wrote everything I ever sang. So I told Suge, "Nah, I ain't coming back to Death Row. I'm living the good life." He said, "Relative, come on home. I got you. I'm gonna put out your album." So I'm not gonna lie. When I first came home, y'all know BET was very popular. So it was with the lady Sherry, Donnie Simpson. I performed. There was no audience at that time. I'm waiting on Suge to come with the MGM playing. I show up. Me and LaShelle, we there. LaShawn from Exclusively Raw, she used to do my weaves at that time. You know what I'm saying? Because hair don't make no woman, but a damn sure keep a man. No, I'm just kidding. So she used to do my weaves at that time. So she was there and they got me all prepared. I did an immaculate performance. This nigga Suge show up with, you know who? Prime time, Deion Sanders. Must be the money. Well, I guess he had more money than me because Suge missed my performance. He shows up with Deion on the MGM plane. He gives me a Raymond Well watch. You know, at that you know Raymond Well? You don't know about that, do you? All right. That was before your time. But at that time, Raymond Well was like the big time. They was like them and the Rolex. So he gives me that, a 5-carat tennis bracelet, and he making excuses relative. I'm sorry, I had this. I was mad. Now everybody know, and I do feel bad. Back in them days, when you pissed Jewell off, oh buddy, you paid a price. So he missed my performance. I put that under my belt, and I love Suge. Even to this day, I love Suge. He was very smart. I am upset at the way he mishandled my career, but I'm more upset as myself because if I hadn't gotten so emotional and just got an attorney and left, I probably would have had a pretty good career because my voice was undeniable. You know what I mean? But people had begun to hear, oh, she's high maintenance. She crazy. She hard to work with. Actually, that really wasn't true. Now, if you was a bullshitter, if you didn't handle your business, if you played around when we was in that studio, you wouldn't like me. Because my work ethic was serious. I believe when you get behind that vocal booth, it's time for business. You play on your own time. When you in that studio, you handle your business. But I can't, if Suge tell a different story, he'll say, Jewell would get mad when she didn't get her money, or if she didn't get her way, and she would take the studio speakers and just bang them into the console. I did. I'm not gonna lie. You know how much a console cost back in them days? It's like $250,000. So when I started adding up all the stuff that I did from what they call my temper tantrum, I guess he took out the money from my publishing to pay for that stuff. But honestly, if he would have just put in the right credits and the right money, I could have gave him a check for the stuff that I ruined. And I only ruined it because he wasn't treating me with the honor and the respect that I deserved. So Suge and our relationship went from being from family to enemy.
Is it true that when you tried to leave Death Row that Suge Knight put a gun on you?
Suge didn't pull a gun on me because I tried to leave Death Row. The gun situation happened because I was being evicted out of my apartment or townhouse, which was 2 blocks down from Solar. And I stayed with Rage at that time. I rock rough and stuff with my Afro puffs. Go Rage. Her and I, we still, keep in contact, but me and Rage was living together at that time. And I think I came home from picking Jewell up from school. And Joel's about 45 now. He was my first child. I didn't have any more kids at that time. And I walk up to my little door, and there's an eviction notice on my door that say you got three days to pay rent or quit, right? So I snatched the notice off the door. I get in. I tell Jewell, go ahead, go shower and get you something to eat. So I get on the phone. And I call the office. And I'm like, where's relative at? So Roy like, he ain't here. I'm like, well, I got a notice on my door to pay my rent. And why isn't my check here? And I said, and Suge got all his money. He giving Halle Berry some roses, sending her a Rolls Royce and all these extra gifts. And I'm the one singing on the records and my rent ain't paid. So Roy's like, well, come to the office and pick up a check and I'll call the attorney right now. Just come up here and get your check. So what happened is when I went to the office to pick up my check, it wasn't ready. So at that time, matter of fact, I don't even think Roy was there yet. It was Lydia, the DOC, me, Suge, Michael Harris was calling from prison, and a couple of, Sharitha was, of course she was always around, a couple of other people that worked in the office. And they was like, come up to the office to get your check. So I went to the office. So Suge is there. And he like, relative, what's up? I was like, you know what's up, nigga. I got a notice on my door. I got to pay my rent. And he was like, okay, I'm going to take care of that. So meanwhile, him and K-Dub, I guess they done had some meeting or whatever before I got there. They're walking downstairs to the parking lot. So I follow him on the elevator. And we get downstairs. And I'm like, so what's up? Why do I got to chase you down for my money? I don't see Tony Braxton and all these people, coming up to their record company office to get their monthly check to pay their bills. All that should be taken care of, all the money out of. So he like, relative, calm down. I said, what you mean calm down? I'm tired of this shit happening to me. This is ridiculous. So at that time, it was really only me voicing my opinion. We had just found Rage sleeping in the studio in New York and brought her back to California. So mostly everybody was scared of Suge. So you wasn't there gonna challenge him, but I ain't scared of nobody. So I was like, where my money? So we down there, we exchanging words, and I pull out my gun. Now, it's this guy, his name was K-Dub. Cause Suge, he sort of looked at me like family, and I guess more of my tantrum side, female, whatever. He wasn't really tripping. But at that time, he didn't carry weapons. The people that had his back carried the weapons. You know what I mean? So K-Dub, he pull out his shit. And he like, I'm finna smoke this bitch. Like he didn't really, K-Dub saw me around, but he didn't really know me. All he knew was, she threatening you? And I'm MOB. We don't play that shit. So Suge is trying to calm me down and calm K-Dub down at the same time. So he playing the mediator. But I'm not backing down. Because at that time, I was like 51-50. And the safety was always off with me at that time. You know what I mean? Because I was being undervalued and unappreciated. So Suge like, whoa. And he like, relative, sup. So he telling me something to calm me down. And I'm like, tell that nigga to put his gun up. And he like, no, you put your gun. And I'm like, tell him. So now me and K-Dub is like at a standoff. And I can honestly say at that time, I really didn't know who K-Dub was. But seriously, at that time, I really didn't care. Because that's how hot I was under the collar from the way that I was being treated. So Suge got us both calmed down. And he would be the type to say this, relative, I'm finna call the accountant. I'm gonna give you $5,000, but don't tell them other niggas. You know what I'm saying? So he would give us $5,000, $10,000. He would always tell you, don't tell the other one that he really basically $550 million and we getting $5,000, $10,000. He should have gave us our money. And we should have been getting big checks. But that's how he used to do. He used to play each other artist against the middle. You know what I'm saying? So that's when me and Suge really fell out. And after that situation happened, he signed Tupac later on. You know, I heard through different people that Pac was gonna sign to the label and how Suge was going to see him in jail, how Jimmy Iovine left him stuck, and how he actually signed his contract on some toilet paper. Now, either there had to be some strong storming, because toilet paper that I use for the boys, because they be trying to clog up the toilet, it's super thin. So I don't know how you could have got a signature out of that, but let's just say for the sake of argument that it was the Charmin and he was signing on toilet paper. Well, he felt obligated, you know, to Suge. So he did sign with Death Row. Well, one night, Pac was working with Johnny J. And he was like, hey, Jewell, I got this song. I need you to come do a hook. So I was like, okay, when I'm done. Now I'm in the middle of my session. And this nigga Pac say, I need you now, Jewell. I'm like, don't you see I'm working? He like, come on, Jewell, come on. This track hot, come listen to it. So he Pac, you know, I like Pac. He cool. I leave my session, I go in there, and it's the Thug Passion beat. And I'm like, oh, I got something for that. Get my mic ready. Is my mic hot? So he get my mic ready, get my headphones, and I'm in there. I heard it's the bomb, and you got it going on. Give me some of that Thug Passion, baby. So I'm laying my stuff, and I'm very technical, and it has to be flawless. Like my stuff got a blend, like some Jiffy peanut butter. It's all mixed in real good, like a little spread. So I guess I'm taking too long. So Pac said, Jewell, I'm ready to rap. Come on out there. It's good. I like it. It's good. And I'm like, let me get 2 more. I need to do 2 more stacks. So he go, Jewell, I like it. Come on out there. I'm ready to rap. Because Pac, he in there rocking while I'm doing the Thug Passion. Man, that nigga say, bitch, come out the studio. Come out the booth, Jewell. Quit playing. So I come on out the booth, and then he started rapping, and that's how Thug Passion was created. I did Thug Passion with Tupac. We was in the studio. We recorded the song. The situation happened, as I told you before, and I just said, had enough. Tupac told me, he said, one night, you know, we be getting lit. I have my vodka. At that time, we was doing like Hennessy and Hypnotic. That was the Thug Passion. And I ain't gonna lie, Dr. Dre turned me on the mushrooms. A couple of people turned me on the ecstasy. So we was popping pills. We'd be up late night. So one night it was just like me, Pac, and a couple of other people. We was in the studio. And he says to me, he's like, Jewell, the real reason why Suge had you come back to Death Row was because I told him I wasn't finna put out my album unless you was on it. I did a Scooby-Doo like, rrr. And he like, yeah. That hurt me more than anyone can imagine. Because when Suge said he was bringing me back to work on my album, I thought he was really serious. But it was just for Pac. So, once again, I got used. So basically, me and Suge, in my eyes, was considered no longer family. And that was the end of our relationship.